Most people discover their first spiritual teacher through a book or a crisis or a heartbreak. I met mine during my school vacations. Hello everyone, my name is Devendra. My parents were sannyasins of Bhagwan Shree Rajneesh, later known as Osho. So my childhood unfolded inside one of the most controversial spiritual movements of the 20th century. Even in the late 1970s, which was when I met him, Rajneesh and his followers were already infamous. To newspapers, it was a cult. To governments, a threat. To psychologists, it was a social experiment unfolding in real time, long before mobile phones, before the internet, an experiment that was setting the world on fire. To me, none of that mattered. To me, it was simply the most colorful, curious, and strangely joyful part of my childhood. A world that felt different in every way, and a world that quietly shaped who I became. Osho was born in a poor Indian village, deeply allergic to authority. In India, where gurus were expected to bless tradition, he questioned everything. He had been a professor of philosophy, but classrooms were too small for what he wanted to say. He walked away and began speaking about inner freedom. Freedom not just from governments and priests, but from fear, guilt, and the voices inside your own head. In a culture built on obedience and hierarchy, he told people to burn their inherited beliefs. That made him loved, that made him feared, that made him dangerous. I was born in Pune, where Osho's ashram was located. It was a surreal, international enclave tucked inside an ordinary Indian city of rickshaws and street vendors. Even though my parents no longer lived there, Rajneesh drew us back to Poona and the ashram again and again. Outside the gates, India moved slowly and traditionally. Inside, people dressed in flowing robes spoke dozens of languages and were busy reinventing themselves. In Pune, as a 14-year-old, I could walk in and out of the imposing ashram gates on my own. The guards knew me. I didn't seem like a threat. Sometimes I slipped out to watch a Bollywood film while my parents were deep inside therapy groups or meditation workshops. I also remember watching Star Wars, and that movie also had a lifelong lasting impression on me. Inside the ashram were Germans, Americans, Japanese, Italians, people who had traveled halfway around the world to sit in silence. I watched them with curiosity and awe. Osho gave me my first glimpse of global humanity. In the evenings, when Osho entered the open air Buddha hall, something happened to the air. Thousands of people from all over the world fell silent. Even when he spoke in Hindi, they still came, because those meditative evenings mattered more than language. People sat cross legged on cushions, waiting. Then laughter would ripple through the crowd as Osho joked about Mullah Nasruddin. Birds chirped in the surrounding trees. City traffic honked outside. Life went on, but here it was being examined. This was the most important moment of the day, and I was lucky to be there Even though, like most foreigners, when listening to Hindi, I barely understood the words. Still, the mood carried me. Like a surgeon, Osho cut into the mind, challenging beliefs, shaking certainties, asking people to see themselves. Every word held the crowd, and I sat still too. After satsang, people drifted to the international restaurant. The food came from all over the world, often cooked by foreign sannyasins, and the nearby German bakery with dark bread, strange cheeses, rich cakes felt like a portal to Europe to me. The ashram wasn't just a place, it was another planet. Osho wasn't trying to make people holy, he was trying to make them honest. That's why he talked about sex, love, jealousy, fear, not to shock, but to bring light where people were ashamed to look. He believed repression was the real sin, that lies were more dangerous than desire, that hypocrisy was more poisonous than chaos. That kind of truth is intoxicating and it is also terrifying. It left a mark on me long before I understood it. Then came the scandals, Oregon, power struggles, arrests, a media storm. Some saw a prophet, some saw a manipulator, some saw a madman. Maybe he was all three. Many followers walked away. Many became bitter. And then suddenly he was gone. By then I was a young journalist. His death pushed me to review a book about him, a way of making sense of a man who had shaped my early world. Yet his voice never disappeared. At my regal boarding school far away from Pune, I wore a neat uniform like everyone else. But on annual day, my parents arrived in saffron robes, mala beads around their necks. I was a fairly ordinary student, but my parents created a stir just by walking into the room. But then my vacations would come and I would enter a portal to another dimension. Growing up around Osho gave me something I didn't recognize at that time, a feeling that the world was bigger, stranger, more open. Maybe that's why I've spent so much of my life in foreign countries, always curious, never quite rooted. While other children went to their grandparents for holidays, I went to a modern day ashram where nothing was permanent and nothing was sacred except awareness. That changes you. It makes you free. It makes you lonely. It makes you impossible to fully belong anywhere. Today, I live in Vietnam, a culture of continuity. Families here stay close. Ancestors are honored. Lives follow patterns that last generations. Even today, decades later, you can walk into bookshops across Asia, even here in Vietnam, where I've been living for more than 3 years now, and still find shelves of Osho's books. Some read him with devotion, some with doubt, and some because something inside them is still restless. Even now, after I have crossed 60 years of age, inside me is the memory of a very different kind of a beginning in life, being part of a spiritual experiment where everything was questioned and nothing was fixed. That did something to me. It made me curious, it made me independent, and it made me restless. Sometimes I wonder if that was a gift or a price. Vietnam offers me belonging. Osho gave me becoming. And I am still standing between the two, grateful, searching, and unfinished.